work mask, to the family mask, to the school mask, to the home, to the sports masks. And when is it you? When is it just you? And I think sometimes even young people recognize that they don't even know when they can be themselves. You can get lost into all the people you have to be in so many different
Mhm.
places. And that's part of our work, is giving people at least permission to, at least awareness that, hey, you do know that there's more to you. There's more to you than what people can see. And imagine there's probably more to other people than what you can see.
I will tell you that the doing the back was harder for me because I feel my whole world is about can I reveal everything? You know,
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any part, bro. If you've seen my content and my posts and it's like, I don't know that there's a part of my world that I don't speak about.
Yeah.
So it was difficult, but I picked some.
And for the audience who are meeting you for the first time, like I've known you, right? And I know that about you, but from everyone here is like, maybe they're hearing you for the first time. So somebody, whatever you share, they're gonna be like, oh my goodness, he's going there. So
Yeah. Yeah. So here's my mask.
all right. Oh man. Okay. Welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm really glad you've joined us. Today's guest is Adam Roa. We have an exciting show for you ahead. I think that one of the things I'm really excited about you hearing in this show is just hearing Adam speak from his heart. You know, he's a musician, he's a poet, he's a creator, he's a writer, like all the things that we know that people can do behind the scenes. But when we get on this show, one of the most incredible things is we get a chance to just be human with each other. You know, one of the things that was really interesting that he said in this conversation, when we got to the back of the mask, is he said, actually, it was hard for me to come up with the back of the mask because normally I tell pretty much everything about myself and through my music and my poetry and my situations. And I think that was the first time someone said they had difficulty because they're often being their most authentic and vulnerable selves, and because they don't know what else to write differently. Um, but as we know in this space, there's no judgment. So whatever anybody is willing to share, is willing to talk about, is beautiful. And today we had an opportunity to really connect, and there were some similarities on our masks that I never would have known of. And there was one thing he said, lots of things he said. I got notes all over here, but one of the things he said is, um, if you don't have doubt, then you don't have real faith. Like to believe in something, like if you don't have doubt, then it's not real faith. Because if you already know it was going to happen, you don't have to really believe in something deeper. And I think that as I'm in the process of writing this book, and as I'm in the process of talking about writing this book, I'm probably talking more about writing the book than I am writing the book. But I'm in progress. I'm in progress. When he talked about the faith of believing that I'm called to do this thing, that I'm called to share this message, is only magnified in the fact that there is some real doubt there. Who am I to be telling this story? Who am I to be sharing this thing to the world? Who am I to be writing a book? All the self-doubt. And that's where faith comes in. And I think I've never thought about it in that way. And we had a really beautiful conversation. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. I hope that if you know somebody in your life who you can benefit from this, maybe think of 2 or 3 people in your life who that have a big goal, a big dream, and maybe sometimes hold themselves back. Maybe you share this with them, and hopefully it will inspire them to recognize they're not alone. Maybe you know somebody in your life who's wearing a mask, like everything is going all fine and everything's good, but you know that something deeper is going on in their life. Maybe you share this episode with them and let them realize that that mask is heavy sometimes, and that they're not alone. So if you haven't yet had a chance to make your own mask, I invite you to go to 100kmasks.com, 100kmasks.com, and join this challenge, this movement of helping people around the world realize that there's so much more to you than anybody can see just by looking at you. Thank you for being a part of this movement. And we got some exciting news coming up in the next couple of weeks. So please stay tuned. If you're not following us on social media, please subscribe and like this so you can get the notifications. But follow us somewhere on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I don't know where you spend your time, but I'm excited about some really exciting things that are happening for Evercore. This is not like clickbait. This is really, I just can't tell you yet, but I'm excited because we've been working hard. This organization has been around for 16 years. And many times I want it to be farther ahead than it is, but I'm taking my steps and I'm giving my best. And I thank you for being on the journey with us. Please enjoy this episode with Adam Roa. Thank you for being here. Is that better? Lower? You want it lower? My energy level is through the roof right now. I can tell you the truth.
Bring it. Bring the fire, bro. Get me jacked up. Let's do it.
Man, it's already happening, bro. Thank you for being here, Adam, man. We've been trying to connect for a while. I want to first appreciate you. Thank you for your time. I'm running in here. I feel, trying to, on this podcast, I don't have to tell people that I was late, but I feel it, and it's true. So we're talking about taking off the mask. Let me just be all really honest, right?
And it's right now where I am in Austin, Texas, is 11:11 a.m. So it's perfect.
There's a movie that has 11. Okay, I don't know what movie that was, but I remember 11:11 showed up somewhere. Oh, man. Thank you for being in the space, and thank you for joining us on this conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me, bro. And why don't we do this? Just because we're like jumping right in because we're starting a little bit late. Why don't you and I just take one deep breath together? Right?
Yeah,
let's do it. Nice inhale. Exhale. Setting the intention that we use all of this energy that we got to be the highest expression of ourselves, of love and light, so that those who receive it be able to feel the realness, the rawness, the authenticity, and the love that's within themselves. So it is. Aho Ashe. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Well, welcome to Taking Off the Mask. How about first you introduce yourself to folks so that they, they're going to hear, they're going to read a bio and they're going to hear a little bit about you, but tell them who is Adam Roa?
It's so funny. I got asked this question. I was interviewed on a podcast last night and same thing. Who is Adam Roa? And I went, that's a really great question because I can talk about what I do. I can talk about what I've achieved, and yet none of those things feel real to who I am. It's just this funny thing. I consider myself a Renaissance man, and I believe that the best thing I can do is show up fully present with my purpose, which is to remind people that they are seen, heard, and loved. And as long as I continue to follow that purpose, my mind, my soul, my heart is going to encourage me and get lit up by various different projects and ways of being. And I'm just going to do those things because they feel good. And that looks like, so far, I'm most known for my poetry. I have a poem called You Are Who You've Been Looking For that has been viewed over 200 million times. And you can find that on my YouTube channel. I'm a quote unquote influencer, I guess you'd say, across, Facebook and Instagram and places. I release music. I make films and videos on consciousness, creativity, and community. Those are my 3 pillars. I have a nonprofit called Surrendered Artists, surrenderedartist.org. I have an online personal development community, thecreatecommunity.com. I do all of these things, and they all fall within those 3 pillars. I stand for consciousness, I stand for creativity, and I stand for community. And so anything I do will fall in there, and I think that all of it will ultimately come back to self-love. So I'm a huge stand for self-love and reminding people that they are more powerful than they even realize. So that's a bit of me. I'm also half Filipino, and I own a dog that I don't get to see nearly enough because she lives with my ex, and I love that dog and that creature so damn much. And I think it's important as men that we can talk about how much we love things like little creatures and our kids and whatever.
Yeah. Oh, man. Thank you for getting it going. And I want to appreciate that because I think sometimes when I read the bio of someone, and I know when I hear people read my bio, I'm like, but there's so much more to that. I mean, I just wrote the bullet points of some good stuff, but man, if the there's a lot of layers and a lot of rivers and ebbs and flows in there. So I really appreciate you sharing your story, because then it lets me know what things are right important and right now valuable for you. So thank you for that. And this conversation is not a really interview, right? This is like you and I get a chance, and I think if we get time and place ourselves, we met maybe 5 years ago, maybe, right? 5 years ago
Ooh,
before. Yeah, I want to say,
it's been that long. It's been that. Yeah, I would.
yeah,
It's probably
like,
4 to 5 years. Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
in the Hive Global Leaders
Out in
world.
your hood, out in San Francisco area.
Yeah, and I just want to say, man, so many things have happened since then. But today is going to be just a way for you and I to connect on literally face to face and through this screen, but in this mask way. Like, we're gonna talk about our masks. And I've listened to a lot of your poetry and a lot of your music, and in your music and in your poetry, like, I hear you taking off the mask. It's almost like you're the embodiment of taking off the mask in a lot of ways, because what I hear you sing about, what I hear you talk about, is real stuff.
Mm.
And even some of the pushback that people push back when, because they're feeling their whatever they're trying not to feel, they blame you for, like, why are you telling all your feelings, right? Like, that it's like, what's wrong with these people, right? But that's what's happening, right? People, their own mask is checked, and then they wonder, why are you being so open with your stuff? Because
Yeah.
sometimes for some people, they don't even know how to navigate it themselves. So
Yeah, and
thank
that's
you.
how we got connected, bro. I remember now. I released a poem called "Masks"
Yeah.
um, when the pandemic was in the first probably like 4 or 5 months, and you saw it and you reached out because
Yeah.
of it. And I'm glad that you did, and it reconnected and it led to this moment. And it's funny because the poem's called "Masks." And anyone can look it up on YouTube, Adam Roa masks, or find it in my IGTV or whatever. And um, the message, I remember coming down. I was in Encinitas, California, down in the San Diego area, and I walked down to the water. And
Mm.
on my way there, I was looking around. And I sat on this bench, and I'm looking around, and all of a sudden, everyone's wearing masks. It was just that there was that week or something that something shifted, and all of a sudden everyone's wearing masks, and I'm looking around, and I have my poetry journal with me, and I'm thinking, I can't see anyone. Like, I can't actually see anyone. And then I had this thought, if they weren't wearing masks, would I even be noticing them at all? And so am I actually seeing them more now? Because they're wearing masks, I'm aware of their presence more than ever. And so I wrote, I believe the first lines of the poem go, everyone is wearing masks now, but is it really that different than before? Feels like the fabric on their face is just a physical representation of a mask they already wore. And that was the beginning of that poem. And the real question of how many people are walking around wearing that mask,
Yeah.
and if that's most people, which I think it is to some degree, well, who am I actually seeing? Who do I actually get to see?
Yeah.
And I think there's a really powerful kind of metaphor to be found in what's happened with COVID and all of the masks, of really sitting with, how much do we really know each other?
Hmm.
How much do we really see each other when we go out into the world? And so that was where that poem came from. And yeah, I get a lot of, comments from people who don't agree with me all the time, all the time. That's part of it. And I take it more as a compliment than anything now.
Yeah. And I think when I heard that poem, I was sitting here like, I've shared it with thousands of people in workshops, presentations, because it is exactly what the Million Mask movement is about. It's about, what is it that you're trying to let people see on the outside? What are the things about yourself that you're gladly letting people see? What are the things that you're not letting people see? And this fabric, right? Like, even me walking into a store, like, I used to know that as a 6'1", 300+ pound Black man, people are watching me when I walk into stores. I felt that most of my life. And now I'm walking in with a mask on. I feel even doubly conscious that because all they see is your eyes. They can't. Sometimes they can tell you're smiling if you have smiley eyes, but I don't know if they can tell that I'm a friendly person when I'm walking into a place with a mask on, trying to get some groceries. And I think that so many things are new today, right? And the way we observe them, the way we see them, the way we feel them, and when you talked about those stories of um, the like what is happening when I paint the smile on? Is this even when I don't have the physical personal protection mask on? When I put on this emotional disconnected mask, hey everybody, how you doing? I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm cool. It's okay. I think one thing you talk about in that poem is also like, who do you get to talk to that I've had a rough day? Like, is there somebody? I tell people, look, we're not here in this campaign telling people you should not have masks, but we are saying, do you have a place that you can take it off?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go from the work mask to the family mask to the school mask to the home to the sports masks, and when is it you? When is it just you? And I think sometimes even young people recognize that they don't even know when they can be themselves. You can get lost into all the people you have to be in so many different
Mm-hmm.
places. And that's part of our work, is giving people at least permission to, at least awareness that, hey, you do know that there's more to you. There's more to you than what people can see. And imagine there's probably more to other people than what you can see. And when we can begin more aware of that, then I think we can build a stronger community. I think we talked about consciousness, creativity, and community. Like, it's hard to build a strong community if you don't even trust that people are being their authentic self, because you know that you're not being your authentic self, or maybe you don't even know you're not being your authentic self. But until you become aware, you're like, I'm faking here. I'm going through so
Mm-hmm.
much stuff, but I'm smiling every day like everything's fine. And I think that's been the work. It's like, how do we give people either language around it, or at least just more of an awareness, so they realize, oh wait, there is more to me. There's more to me than this artist, this teacher, this engineer, this doctor, this whatever. There's more to me as a human. And I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we get relegated to our titles, and we forget that we're more than that too.
Yeah, and I think there's a line in that poem that says, I put a mask on my face to cover my heart." And I think that more than anything, this is really interesting. This is popping up for me right now. I was in a relationship last year with a semi-celebrity, actually, and so there was an opportunity, someone in the music world, and there was an opportunity for me to get up close and personal with someone whose life needed to be a persona, someone whose life needed, like, there are things I can't say online because I will upset my fan base, and there are things that I can't reveal about how I live my life or what I do because of the impact that it'll have on my business and my brand. And it was really challenging to be the person I am, where I'm so open. I'm the dude that all my other friends who are coaches and very open and speak look to and go, "Yo, I can't believe that you just did that." And um and they tell me that's inspiring. I made a reality show about, I was with a woman for 10 years, and after we broke up, I made a reality show called The Art of Choosing Love, which
Mm.
people can search that on YouTube. But that was, I said to the cameraman, the more uncomfortable, the more painful, the more sad, the more awkward the situation or what I'm going through, put a camera on it. And I said, I needed that rule because I could not give myself permission to hide. It needed to be something where I knew, and because what that did was it took me out of my head of, should they film this, should this not? Everything, like, it was all on the table. And so there was never, it gave me permission to not be in my head because it was all being filmed. And um so to be that person, and then to be in relationship with someone that I loved so dearly, who uh wasn't that, and then to now receive all of the pushback. Her family did not approve of me, did not like me, and the reason was because of how open I was. They thought I was bad for her brand and bad for her business and bad for, what she was trying to do, and I was going to ruin her career and all of these things. And I got death threats and mean mess. I've never gotten so many mean Instagram messages in my life than from her fans coming at me. And um it led in many ways, it contributed quite deeply to the breakup. And I remember even in the breakup being her revealing how much of what had been said by her family had actually penetrated into questioning whether or not it was I was having a negative impact in some way, shape, or form. And even though she didn't want to believe those things, was it, was it there? I could tell in the questions she was asking and all of these things. And I
Yeah.
went, it it had me, I left that feeling smaller than I'd ever felt,
Mm.
because to be the person who reveals, to take the mask off, is it takes courage, it takes work. I've had When I think about my morning routines and my meditation, when I think about all the work that I've done in personal development, plant medicines, hiring coaches, all of that is how I've become the person that takes the mask off at the
Yeah.
level that I do. It's work to be that person, and to have worked my whole life to become that person, and then to have that be a reason why I'm I'm being like broken up with, to have that be a
Mm.
reason why people who've never met me are judging me and saying hurtful things.
Yeah.
It spun me out for a bit, and had me questioning, do I want to be that person? Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I'm approaching this wrong. And I really kind of had to rebuild myself from the ground
Mm.
up again. And I can proudly say that I'm sitting here feeling better than I've ever felt. I feel so empowered, so good. But it did take um, a dissolving of myself and a rebuilding. And so I want people to understand, like, if you don't feel fully comfortable taking that mask off yet, I get it.
Yeah.
There's We're in a world that doesn't treat the human heart as sacred. And so it can be an incredibly scary thing to do, but it's possible for you.
Yeah.
And it's important because some people have to lead the way. Someone's got to go first. And I think that why I share as openly as I do about my struggles with depression and my drug use in my past and all of that is because I want people to understand that no matter what you've done, no matter what has happened in your life, none of that defines you. And the
Mm.
moment that you decide you're going to shift your life, you shift your life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's important to me.
Yeah. I think what you say really connects in lots of ways, just in terms of all the stories that I tell myself, but also there's a quote I think from Mark Twain where he says the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you realize why. Because if you can be doing life all along but not realize why you were really put here, because when you find that thing, it may not be money driven, it may be heart driven, and sometimes that's a conflict with our capitalist society. Because I know I wanted to be rich. This nonprofit thing was not the plan, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, it wasn't Ashanti's plan. it was it was somebody else's plan that called me, and I just was like, not me. I ran from it for 2 years, and finally when I went back to school to become a teacher is when I finally really was like, this is what makes me come alive. Like, financially, it's not doing what I think it wanted to do for me, but my heart, being able to wake up fulfilled every day has been amazing. Knowing when it was like to wake up feeling like I got to go do this thing. I could do this thing. I'm being paid really well to do this thing, but I'm just doing this thing. But now, the work, the mission, the purpose has meaning, and that is for me has changed everything.
Yeah, and I we have so many examples of people who have hit levels of success, fame, money, and every one of them says the same thing. It's not going to make you happy. It doesn't shift that thing. And I had more money than I'd ever had in my life, and that was the year that I dropped into the deepest depression that I've ever faced. And um I think that it's tough because only the people who've been to the mountaintop can let you know what it's like.
Yeah.
And yet people who haven't yet been to that mountaintop don't want to believe the people who've been there. And
Yeah.
I think that the reason is because that mountaintop gives a lot of people hope. and there are people who are just saying, yo, if I made $1 million, I'm going to be so happy because I'm going to be able to provide for my family. I'm going to be able to do this, I'm going to do that. And there, this mountaintop of, usually it's money, it's usually some level of money, but it can also be success or some sort of accomplishment.
Yeah.
The idea that everything changes when you get there.
Yeah.
And I was really blessed, bro. I had the experience of hitting my early mountaintop at 18 years old. And when I got there, I went, what the hell? I I thought that things would be different, and they weren't. And because of that experience, I started questioning everything. And
Yeah.
that ultimately led to me starting to follow my heart as my priority, which was to move
Mm.
to Los Angeles and pursue an acting career instead of going down the road I'd been going in business. And I went, okay, great. And then of course that had this level of fame attached to it that I wanted, and all of this stuff. But over time, even as recently as this year, realizing that it's all about lifestyle.
Mm.
Don't design your world around what you want to accomplish. Design your whole world around what you want your lifestyle to be like.
Mm.
That to me is one of the biggest shifts that you can do, is say, what's important to me? Is travel important to you? Awesome. Figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Is community important to you?
Yeah.
Amazing. Figure out how to be a part of one or start one.
Yeah.
Is art and creativity important to you? Great. Don't wait until you have a bunch of money in the bank so that you can pursue that singing career that you've always dreamed about. Start singing. And when you can design your life around the things that light you up, you're now, it's the life is going to be enjoyable all along the way, because there is no destination. Everyone who's ever gotten to their destination has always said the same thing, which is, now what? Now
Yeah.
what? What do I do now? I got to this place and I didn't have a plan beyond it. And that's a huge shift that I hope people listening to this can really take to heart.
Yeah, and even in some of those go get them seminars, it's like, well, once you get that goal, then you make a new one, right? And you keep stretching it out in front of you, so you're never there. And then when do you enjoy what you've accomplished? And I know, as a person who is oftentimes not saying "Ashanti, good job" to myself, like, and then when I hear from others, it doesn't necessarily land because I rarely say it. I may not even sometimes not believe it myself. I think we've already, I think, probably made a mask out loud in this work. Did you make a mask? Did you make one?
Yeah, I did. I got it right here.
I feel like that's what. Okay, well, let's do it, because I think it's already it's already coming out, right? It's already happening in the conversation. But just, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I will tell you that the doing the back was harder for me because I feel my
Yeah.
whole world is about can I reveal everything?
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any part, bro. If you've seen my content and my posts, and it's like, I don't know that there's a part of my world that I don't speak about.
Yeah.
So it was difficult, but I picked some.
And, and
Um,
and and for the audience who are meeting you for the first time, like, I've known you, right? And I know that about you, but from everyone here is like, maybe they're hearing you for the first time. So somebody, whatever you share, they're gonna be like, oh my goodness, he's going there. So
yeah. Um, yeah. So here's my mask.
all right. Oh man. Okay.
And so my mask, the thing that I lead with, for people that I'm happy to wear, is being smart, being hard worker, and being caring. Like those things are. I'm like, yeah, I want you to know all those things about me, right?
Oh boy. Okay. Well, watch this. Okay. So this. Okay. So here's the front. Let me just show it because it's kind of big. Okay. This is the front. Funny, caring, serious, and hardworking.
There we go. We got two. We got
There we
two out of three.
go. That's the front.
Um, and then my back, the three things: um, uncertain, fear of failure, and then anger. I think that I don't know how much of that I don't share, but I think those at least are three things that I have that when they pop up, I work through them, but I
Yeah.
don't necessarily broadcast them, right? And so
Yeah.
just even for the record, I have doubts all the time. I have doubts that I'm screwing it all up. That what am I doing? What is this idea that I have? What's going on? I have a fear that when I overcome the doubt and I start doing the thing, that it's not going to work out. That there's that quote unquote failure. I definitely
Yeah.
have that as well. And then the anger is a big piece where um, I am learning more and more how to use anger in a supportive way, because I think it's one
Yeah.
of the most misunderstood emotions, and it's um, something that is incredibly beneficial to utilize in a lot of ways. And yet, in most of my content, for example, I don't come at it when I'm angry, because I think that the energetics of anger, it's not even that, like with you and I, we may be in a situation where I can bring my anger and I can bring my heat, and you're like, yeah, bro, get it. Or you can hold that. But for a lot of people, the moment they feel that anger, they get incredibly defensive, they get triggered. And so bringing anger a lot of times is even if I knew how to be with my anger in a good way, it could just create a situation where people don't know how to be with it. And so a lot of times I'll hold back on leading with that. So yeah, I think that those three are pieces that I don't lead with quite as often.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that. And I'm gonna here's mine in the back. Fear of failure, scared about sadness about death, and my brother's mental health. And when you talked about the fear, like the doubt, I'm up. What am I doing? Why? We had a campaign called the 100,000 Mask Challenge. As we approached 50,000, uh, something in me said we should call it the Million Mask Movement now. So we hadn't even got to 100,000 yet, and then I changed it. I just put the goal literally 10 times further. And I think when I think back to that decision, I think the original goal was 1 million. I downplayed the original goal to go to 100,000, and then I just said, but it's that moment of like, what are you doing? Why would you get close to the goal and then move the goal post? Right? Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, for social entrepreneurs or people who are like trying to do big things in the world, you know that the goal kind of drives you. So I know that is a big piece, but also is that feeling of like, what are you doing? Is this going to work? Like, how am I going to reach 1 million people? I don't know how I'm going to reach 1 million people. And I think just when I finally just let it go, that it was called to me. I heard a man yesterday say, like, when it comes to you, it's your calling. You may not be able to translate to other people. They might not even be able to get it, but it's not for them to get necessarily right now. But it's for you. If it's yours, then it's going to come through you, and you got to do with it what is calling you to the table. And I've started to get comfortable with the fact that even though I moved the goal so far away from where original goal was, that it feels right and it makes sense. And I have to tap the fear out sometimes. It's like the wrestling match, literally. Like, hey, fear, you got to come out now. Got to come out because you're in the way. Like you're holding me, you're holding me back from the thing I need to be doing, right? Like, and I think I appreciate you for speaking about the doubt and that probably connected deeply to the fear. So, yeah, that's the back.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, bro, where um, if we didn't experience doubt, we wouldn't need faith, and faith is the fuel that um, allows the space for magic to enter into your life. You know, if it was all certainty and it's like I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, and that's how it played out. You could literally script your life out. There's no room for magic, and
Yeah.
so where magic enters into the same spaces that faith does. And I think that depending on people's context around faith, you know, I was raised Catholic, and faith to me was belief in something that I didn't resonate with when I was growing
Mm.
up, and so I had a resistance to that. But to me now, faith is just the belief in something that you can't yet prove, you
Yeah.
know? And so what is faith? I believe that I'm I'm going to impact hundreds of millions of people. In fact, I already
Mm,
have. My poem's been viewed 200 million times. So
yeah.
awesome. What keeps me going? Where is my doubt and where is the opportunity for faith? And the more that we can find those spaces, I think that's actually
Mm,
a good thing. Oftentimes I seek those spaces out. I look within myself and like, where am I actually doubting what I'm doing? Where is
mm,
that? I have a podcast called The Deep Dive, and I'm consistently going, man, what am I creating the impact with that thing? Would it be better if I spent that time focused over here? Right. But then I just feel into it and I get that one message or two messages or whatever, people reposting episodes. And I go, this is making an impact. And so the
yeah.
combination of knowing that it's making some sort of impact and how it feels in my body to do it, that's enough for me to have faith that it's the quote unquote right thing for me to be doing, that's in alignment with who I want to be and what I want to create on this planet. And that is where the magic can happen, is just trusting that if it feels good and I can see some level of impact that it's making, that's enough for me. That's enough, and I'm just going to keep leaning into that.
Man, thank you. Thank you for that. I think I really like that what you just said. I'm going to write that down on a poster. Faith is the belief in something you can't prove. And I think that is those are words that I think young people in our that we work with all the time is helping them to see that. Like if you have belief, if you have faith in your goals and your dreams, if you've never seen it in your life before, it may seem like it's not even possible. And people may tell you that it's not possible because no one in your family, no one in your community, no one in your life has ever done it. But it just means that it hasn't been done yet. It doesn't mean that it's not can't be done. And I think helping people to push that envelope of saying, you know what, actually, yeah, I can't prove that it's going to happen, but I believe it, and I'm going to keep believing it. I'm going to keep pushing forward. And I think what we see with this work, what we see with young people, like this morning, I have a young man. The challenge is that he's afraid. We have a presentation after this. He's afraid. So we got on a call this morning to practice, and he can't talk. He's like internet, like the camera keeps going on and off. He's like he's freaking out, and I'm like, oh goodness. I just see him in his head. And I said, listen, you don't need to write the story down because it's your story. You have to decide, are you willing to tell your story or not? And what I saw in him to this morning literally happened. That's why I was running late, because I was like trying to talk him off the ledge of quitting. Like he was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, nothing's working. I'm like, take a breath, right? I'm like, I gotta go to a podcast. But listen, I can't leave you in this stuck mode because you're stuck. Right? You're in a rut. You're telling yourself a story that's not true. You're believing that you're going to fail. You can't prove it, but that's what you're having faith in. You're having faith in the failure as opposed to having faith in the success. And I think we could actually have faith in many different things, you know. And so actually, I just actually just thought about that right this moment. So
Yeah.
he was believing in failure as opposed to believing in success. And
And
oh my
and
god,
that's,
that's
people ask me all the time because
mm,
I've been blessed to be able to speak on stages in front of thousands of people and
yeah,
perform. And they say, "Do you ever get nervous?" I say, "What is nervous? What does that mean?" It's that feeling of blah blah blah, and they'll describe a feeling. And what I mean is, but do I get butterflies in my stomach? Yeah. Do my like temperature get a little hot and I start like feeling a little sweaty and my heart rate increase? Yeah, absolutely. That happens before I step on any stage. It doesn't matter how small or big. And yet, what is the difference? Because that's the same response as being excited. When you get excited, your heart rate increases, your temperature might rise, you get some butterflies in your stomach. So if the physiological response is exactly the same, what's the difference between excited and nervous? And for me, it's just a matter, am I focused on what could go well, or am I focused on what could go really wrong? If
mm,
if I'm focusing on all the ways I could screw it up, then all of that feeling is tied to that, then yeah, I'm nervous. If I'm focused on all the things, how great this could go, and all those feelings are in my body, I'm excited. It's the exact same feeling in the body. And so the perspective, and that's beyond just one moment, that's life. How are you viewing life? Are you viewing it through what can go poorly? Are you viewing it through the potential of how beautiful it can be? And then you're excited for life. And I think that what is difficult, and what I want to speak to, even as someone who's experienced sexual abuse in my past, and a lot of experiences that have shaped me in a way where for most of my life I didn't feel safe on this planet. I didn't feel physically safe on this planet. And um I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. What could go wrong? What's the danger lurking behind this corner? And it it is a really difficult way to live, bro. It's difficult to do that. And so we get to figure out how to support people in remembering that for every bad thing that's happened to you, if there's 24 hours in a day, you could have one 5-minute bad thing that happens a day, but then you have 23 hours and 55 minutes of the rest of your day where that's not the case. And yet, for some reason, we focus on that 5 minutes and we make it mean something about how the entire world operates. We think about that one person who cut us off in traffic and forget about all the people who smiled at us when we were walking down the street. Like, we get to shift our perspective to see more of the beauty, and that's going to unlock so much potential for this planet.
Man, you there you go. That I think that is a beautiful perspective of that, and I think that is what we see in this work with young folks. I think most of our work is with young folks, and I remember when you gave your, I don't know if it was the first time you gave the poem, "You Are the One You've Been Waiting For." You were in an audience of
You are who you've
students.
been looking for. Yeah.
You are who you've been looking for. You were it was a group of students in the audience. At least one of the times you gave it.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it a number of times. The one that went viral, I was at a Kyle Cease event. It was a personal development event.
Right on. Well, I know I've seen young people who, when I show it to young people, and I show the mask definitely to young people, like it puts it in language so clear that it's like, yeah, you can pretend you didn't hear it, but you kind of heard it, right? And I
Mhm.
think that is what we try and do with this work: is how do we make it simple enough so people can get it, and then decide that they don't want to talk about it or deal with it, we make this activity fairly simple, but it's not easy, right? It's one picture plus 6 words. It's fairly simple to do, but it's not easy necessarily thinking of the words or what words can I share, or talking yourself from the fear of whatever somebody's going to judge me, or but what I'm thankful for with you is really like taking those words and putting them into a way of being able to understand it and hear it. And I think that when people hear this, I think they're going to be like, I've written down several quotes right here. I got some notes writing here because it's like, yeah, that's exactly right. That's what we're trying to do. How do we get it into the words that are clear enough, clean enough, simple enough that people can say, yeah, I get it. I'm still nervous about it. I'm still worried about it, but I get it, right?
I think for me, that's why I believe art is the way. I have a nonprofit called Surrendered Artist, and one of our biggest pillars is working with the youth to teach them how to use art as a healing technology. I was molested at the age of 5. That was a repressed memory that I did not remember until I was 30 years old. And the reason that that happens is my consciousness basically decided you can't handle this. You are
Mm,
not able to process it. You don't have the support system around you to deal with that. You don't know how to process it on your own. So
mm,
you're going to have to not know that this happened. And there's a common saying, hurt people. And I would love to sit here and say, yo, we're going to have hurt people stop hurting people. Yeah, we're working on that. And in the meantime, while hurt people are still hurting people, how do we give people the tools for processing the experience that of trauma, of wounding? How do we give people that so that no matter
Yeah.
what shows up in their life, they have a way of moving that energy so it doesn't become something that lies dormant in the unconscious and affects someone for 25 years without knowing it, like it did with me. And
Yeah.
so we just did one of our first actual digital event called Journaling for Joy, where
Hmm.
we had parents bring their kids and taught this workshop on how to tap into your emotion and turn it into writing. Tap
Hmm.
into a different emotion, turn it into writing. And it's something that we're going to continue to do with dance and singing and music. Like there's so many ways. And I feel art is a safe space and a safe way for people to really be with their emotions. And um, yeah, I'm so grateful that I've come into that for myself. When I think about the way when I look at masks and the poem I wrote, or You Are Who You've Been Looking For, every single time that I do those, it's medicine for me. You know, I for a while went, I don't want to be that one hit wonder. Everyone wants me to do that poem about self love, but every single time I do it, I can still get emotional doing it because self love never gets tired. That's not a topic that we can get tired of. I think that we got to be careful because right now there's a lot of commoditizing of that world, and
Hmm.
people trying to sell stuff based on that. And
Yeah.
I'm not immune to that as a coach and someone who has online communities and stuff to help people love themselves more.
Yeah.
And um it can't just become noise. it
Right.
it gets to
Right.
be something that the message continues to land, and it's not something where we see something inspiring on Instagram and we just double click it and hit like and then move on. It's like, wait a
Yeah.
second, did you actually let that land? Did
Mm.
you actually let that in? Because I would rather you see one Instagram post a day that lands for you and goes, whoa,
Yeah.
than 1,000 that go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah. Man, well, I just want to say thank you for sharing about what happened when you were 5. I think when you talk about that idea, like your system couldn't handle it, I experienced the same thing when I was 8, and I think my system needed to protect household, family, and knowing that I didn't know that it would make it better by being able to navigate it. I mean, it was sometimes somewhat subconscious. I was 8, but I remember when I've remembered, I'm like, uh oh, what do I do with this information now, right? As an adult, right? Do I just maybe I'll just go to my grave with it? And it began to just work its way through to the surface. So thank you for sharing that. And as a man who's been trying to like get the wound to turn into a more of a scar, it's
Mhm.
a journey, right? Because and when you talked about like journaling for joy, I really or sorry, yeah, journaling for joy. I think you said I remember I've been blocked trying to write this book, right? And I think I'm because I'm trying to write a book as opposed to writing a story and then writing a story and then writing a story. And I think that if I was to tap into the emotions and just journal from the emotion, I'm going to try that tonight. I'm going to try that tonight as a task. Just take an emotion and just journal from that, because I feel and I talk about feeling and I'm okay feeling. I mean, I allow myself more to feel now than I ever have in the past. So thank you for sharing that. And how about I mean, I think I could talk to you for a lot longer, but how about this? You've given some tips and ways that people can find you. Before I want to close in a second, but I want to say, what would you say to the young people out there? And everything you said is relevant to young people, but because our work is, primarily starting with young people, what is something you say to young people who are right now in this pandemic trying to figure out back to school, not back to school? Like, what do feeling lonely, not being able to talk about it? Is there a, a word, a sentence you have for those folks who are a year at home trying to figure it out, but more so in the sense of like just a word of inspiration for them as we close.
Yeah, I guess I have two things that pop into my head. One is everything you're feeling is worthy of being felt. Um, there's an idea, especially as men, that we're not supposed to feel certain things. And if we do feel them, we should hide them away and put that mask on, right? And um, if you're feeling it, it's worthy of being felt. However, how you choose to express that gets to be done in a way that doesn't hurt yourself or hurt other people or hurt the planet. And so the second piece is find a way for you to express your emotions. I believe art is that way. I think it's a safe space, whatever that is. And it might look like one day you lock yourself in your room and you just scream into a pillow for a while. And you just punch that pillow and you let out all your anger, right? It might be going on a long run, just running until you feel so tired that you can't, you're so tired that the emotion's been drained out of you. You ran it out. I mean, whatever that is, you get to find a safe way to express it. And don't think that because you're feeling it, that you're bad or that it's wrong. We all are feeling a lot right now. And how you learn to be with what you're feeling is, to me, the signs of how your whole life is going to unfold.
Man, thank you, man. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate you. Tell folks the best ways or which ways they can reach out to you and find you, and we'll link all this in the show notes. But let us know how they can follow you, find you, and tap in.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for having me, bro. I'm always glad when we get a chance to connect, and so appreciative of the work you're doing in the world. Very aligned. So, for people who align with my message and want more of it, my podcast is called The Deep Dive with Adam Roa. I'm on all the socials, right? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Adam Roa, ROA. My website, adamroa.com. My nonprofit, surrenderedartist.org. And I have music and poetry on Spotify. My music's under Roa, just ROA. And then my online community is thecreatecommunity.com.
All right. Well, as a new person who is trying to create, I will be tapping into that. And thank you for the journaling, just the thought, because that feels a lot more doable than trying to finish the whole book, right? And congrats and good luck on your book that you said you're working on. So you say you're working on a book.
I'm working
so
on two simultaneously right now. Yeah.
Yeah, just one's that's not enough right now.
I have 3 books. Like, I know what they are, and one of them gets to wait, but I got 2 that are I'm working on simultaneously.
You should teach us a time management course. I'm not sure how you do all this, but I imagine you find a way. So, man, thank you for being here today. Thank you for making time. And folks, if you want to make a mask out there, you can do that at 100kmasks.com. We invite you to be a part of this movement, and we're on our way to 1 million. So you can be one of the million in this phase of this work. So again, Adam, thank you for being here with us today on Taking Off the Mask. And we look forward to seeing you all soon. Cheers. If what you heard today you enjoyed, if you've listened to this and you found something inspiring, please like and subscribe to this podcast. That's the best way for someone to find this podcast, maybe like you did. Please tell someone about it. If listen to some of our previous episodes, and if one of them rings out to you, please share it with somebody you know. We also invite people to join us in a face-to-face where they come together with another person to make a mask and talk about that mask together. There's short conversations, about 20, 30 minutes. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please send us a message, send us in the comments below, let us know that you're interested in that. And we look forward to you joining the movement of the Million Mask Movement. And check out our new shirt. I don't know if you can see it, but this is our new shirt, the Million Mask Movement. And so we'll have these soon available, but we look forward to you being a part of the movement and supporting our work. Please consider supporting the work that we do in Ever Forward and in the work that we do in the Million Mask Movement to let people around the world realize that they're not alone. Thank you.